Do you want ideas for using your 12 by 12 patterned paper without making scraps and a super easy way to save money as a crafter? Hi, I'm Jess from JessCrafts.com and I'm here to help you make the most of your crafty supplies and time. So let's get making. Today I have 12 by 12 paper busting template for A2 cards number 35, which means there are 34 others available at JessCrafts.com, which you can download individually for free. Or you can purchase a pack in the Etsy store and get all 40 templates in one big document to print out. Today I have the Paige Evans Trick and Treats collection, and I just fell in love with it. I liked the colors. I liked using the pink and the purple for Halloween. That sort of is like this lavendery purple too. But when I went to purchase the collection, I wanted to stay, not break the bank on a collection. So instead, so I purchased 3 pieces of the pattern paper, my 3 favorite pieces, and purchasing just a few sheets. If you don't feel like you're going to use the entire collection pack, that's a simple way to save money. But beyond that, I decided instead of buying a pack of embellishments, I would look for a patterned paper that included something I could cut apart. Sometimes these are 3x4 squares, sometimes they're just a variety of little embellishments, and even a sticker sheet is often less expensive than a pack of embellishments. So on average in 2024, as I'm thinking about this, when I see a pack of die cut embellishments, it might be $5 or $6. A piece of extra patterned paper might be less than $1.50, right around that range. And a sticker sheet might even be $3 or $4. So each of these are little ways you can save money. But by going with this one sheet of paper, I now have 15 embellishments for $1.50 instead of $5 or $6. And there's only 15 here, but since I only bought a few sheets of the patterned paper, that works out. I can also purchase some additional sheets of this, of the same sheet to get more if I want and still, save some money. Now, these are tags, but something to consider is, can you cut off the tops of tags? So I might want, if I was using them as tags, I might want to punch holes in them and then put a little bit of twine for my stash through. But if you don't want to do that step, if that sounds intimidating to you, always take a look and see if maybe a lot of them could be cut into rectangles instead. So I'm noticing that a lot of these can't. The ones that have the stitching detail, I probably wouldn't do that to, because then I feel like it would look like something was missing at the top. You could do it. I don't think it's necessarily a problem, but that is something I would think about. Some of these do become very clear embellishments, the cat and the boo, but then this one, if I were to cut the top off, it would just look like a chunk of patterned paper. So maybe it is better to keep it as a tag so it looks more like an embellishment, and it is something that you're probably going to have to pull in from your stash. A lot of us, however, have a lot of stash. So let's get started on this template. This is telling us to cut our 12 by 12 paper, and starting we can cut it as 4 by 12 because you see all of these pieces fit into one long 4-inch strip. So I'm going to pick one of these patterned papers. This is the paper that really made me fall in love with this collection, but it is quite busy, so I'm a little bit apprehensive to use it. But I probably should just go for it. That's why I bought the collection. That's one of the things that I loved about the collection, although this teal color is very pretty too. So let's go for it. And we're gonna use this, I think we'll use this busier side actually for the larger chunk of pattern paper that this needs. If you look at the final sketch, you'll see that you're gonna use a 4x4 square and these 4x1 rectangles on top of it. So we're gonna come to 8 inches on the ruler, which means this is 4, because 4 plus 8 is 12. Then we will cut off some 1-inch pieces. So I'm going to bring it from this side instead. So go from 12 to 11, and then to 10. Then in this case, I can decide whether I want to just, I try to show it to you in the sketch, or sorry, in the template, such that this is the entire card, so that you can kind of see where all the pieces are coming from, that you can see there are 6 cards in there. And so then I need a 4-inch piece. Coming from 10 to 6. But the one thing I do sometimes consider is I try not to have a little piece left. So here, instead of trying to cut 1 inch like this at the end, I am going to cut the 1 inches first. So 6 to 5 and then 5 to 4, so that I'm not trying to cut a small piece off at the end. Okay, and then that's what we need. This is one card, this is another card. You can keep going with that same cut another 4-inch chunk off, and you'll have enough for your card base, or for all of your 6 cards that you're gonna make from one sheet of patterned paper. So one of the things that I liked about this pattern paper that drew me to it was that it had like a variety of purples for Halloween and pinks. So I'm gonna lean into that and choose purple for my mats. You can find the mat measurements here on the sketch. So it's a 4x4 piece with a 4 1/4 by 4 1/4 inch mat. I personally prefer 1/4 inch mats. You can always change them to 1/8 inch mats. I mean, it's 1/8 of an inch bigger if you like a smaller mat. So I'm going to cut it to 4 1/4. I'm starting with scraps. I just pulled out one of my sets of cardstock that I thought would match, and I started with the scrap bits. I always just put them right back in this protector so that they keep them all together, and when I need something I can go to scraps first. Now I'm noticing if I cut 4 1/4, I'll probably also, I don't know if it's gonna be quite enough to make another one of the pieces that I need. I need this, since this is 1 inch, a 1 1/4, and actually it's just above that. So that's lucky that I'm gonna get with very little waste. You really efficiently used this cardstock scrap that I had. It's a very large scrap, certainly, but that can happen pretty often. And my sketches and my way of making them is always no patterned paper scraps. I'm not saying no cardstock scraps. So I need to keep going and cutting enough that I can make all 6 cards. So that will be 6 of these 4 1/4 inch, and then 12, because you need 2 for each card, of these 4 1/4 by 1 1/4 inch pieces. So I got a little bit mixed on how I wanted to, like, which side of the pattern I wanted to use. I love double-sided patterned paper because then when I cut one sheet of it, I can use 2 patterns on the same card. If you have single-sided pattern paper that you're trying to use, you could always cut 2 sheets with the sketch or with the template and then mix them, and you'll make 12 cards instead of 6, but you'll be able to mix the patterned papers. And then I was like, I really like this pattern. And if I choose it to be the background, I am going to be covering it up somewhat here and probably a little bit more with my embellishments. So part of me is like, ooh, did I use that on the wrong card? But some things to think about. If you really loved this patterned paper and you're like, well, I already, I'm using this sketch, something you could do is just place it on top and let those poke out. Obviously you're covering a lot of that other patterned paper instead. And always, like I said, there's 35 different sketches, so there's probably a sketch that will show off your patterned paper a bit more. But I wanted to start using it because sometimes it can be really easy to hoard your beautiful patterned paper. I don't know if that's quite the right word for it. I think you kind of know what I mean. But like, hold on to it, keep it. Think, oh, I can't use it. I don't have it's not the perfect project. And then we find out it's still in our stash many years later when we really, and instead of being enjoyed and given away as a card, we're just holding on to it. Now, if you have a couple of really pretty pieces of pattern paper and you want to frame them or something, by all means, go for it and use it to decorate your craft room. But if it's just sitting in like a drawer or something like that, then that wasn't really our goal. It was to use it and enjoy it. So now I'm ready for embellishments. And I'm gonna start by just cutting off rows of these tags and then thinking about whether some of them I want to cut the tops off or add tags. I'm kind of tempted to cut the tops off of them for this card, just so that, because right now, as you can see, they are a full 4 inches, so they won't quite fit on this card. So instead, what I think I'm gonna do, this one has the stitching, so I don't wanna cut the top off of that. And this one I'm not gonna use because it's the same as my background patterned paper, so I'll cut that off and I'll decide on another time for those two. But these, I think, will all look cute on this card. So what I'm gonna do instead is cut the tops of these tags off. And maybe I wanna make it a round measurement, but I don't wanna cut any details off because I might put a mat. All these things that I'm thinking, oop, okay, I cut the moon off. Should have paid closer attention because I think I probably could have fit it, but we'll make it work. We're not gonna get upset about it. And so here, I can take this one, and since there is some extra room, I can cut it down. Now this is creating some potential patterned paper waste, but this is not to me like a scrap I want to use. I'm not too worried about that, but I totally understand. And so here I think I would cut the same purple mat and add this to the card with a sentiment. I think the ghosties I cut really close, so if I were going to trim any extra off them, I'd trim it from the bottom to make it look a little bit more even. So again, I can bring it to that 3-inch mark. This case, I think the purple that I picked is contrasting enough that it will still act as a good mat for these. I might even trim it a little closer just so they feel a little more even. But these are the kinds of things I'm going to think about as I go forward with these tags and picking some embellishments for my card. I'm going to go through and pick my favorite ones because again, I am going to just start trying to use things that I love rather than going, oh, maybe there's a better project for these in the future. I'm able to keep going with all those design decisions, cutting measurements, and complete 6 cards with the 1 sheet of double-sided 12x12 patterned paper. In terms of these embellishments that I got from the piece of patterned paper, I was able to put like a similar 1/4-inch mat around them. I did cut them to slightly different sizes depending on what the particular like part of the embellishment was. Like this one is a little bit taller and thinner. And then other ones I kept a little bit wider because there's more design or something like that. But I did choose to put them on the left side of the card. I felt like if you're looking at this sketch, if I put it here on the right side of the card, not only would I have covered up some of this patterned paper that I really liked, I would feel still like I needed to balance out the card because it's lighter on this side, like visual weight wise. There's a little bit of white space. And so I would have wanted to maybe put a sentiment there or something. And so if you are choosing an embellishment that doesn't have words, although most of mine do, then maybe you would want to put it on the right side, especially if you maybe didn't like that pattern paper so much, more fine with covering it up. But then I would probably put a sentiment on this side of the card. So just to, you know, kind of share some design insights that might be helpful to you. Now, since I was cutting these tags, cutting the tops off the tags, on the other side is this sort of black and white dot paper. And I just wanted to briefly discuss something you could do with them is just to place them on the inside of the card as a little bit of extra embellishment, or you can, you know, use them on scrap type cards. Normally I don't have any scraps, but because I was turning a piece of patterned paper into embellishments rather than using my paper busting template, you know, style, I did have these little bit of scraps. This is also here, the branding strips. Sometimes the branding strips have a little bit of the one of the patterned papers on them. And again, I would probably just cut a chunk of that and place it inside the card. If you found this video helpful, here's another video with more ideas for enjoying your crafty time and supplies. Let me know you like this video with a share to your crafty community. Subscribe and click the bell so you don't miss the next template or tutorial, and check the video description for product links as well as a link to this template. Thank you, and I'll see you in the next video.